Daily Broadside Day 449. Pat Robertson died last night. I say that. I heard about it today. I don't know when he died. Sometime in the last day or so. I don't know. But dude was like 93 years old, man. I didn't realize the 700 Club has been on since like the mid 60s. That's insane. And I got to tell you, I can't remember when it came on. It seems like it was Sunday morning. Maybe it was Saturday morning. I don't know. But all I knew is if I recall correctly, it signaled the end of like cartoons and crap for the day, because it'd be like, crap, the dang 700 Club. I don't even know what the 700 Club means. I just know what it is. But it got me thinking about all the Jerry Falwells and, the Pat Robertsons of the world and all that stuff. And, all these people. And I'm not saying, what's his name? The one that everybody kind of respects, that started that thing where they send the shoe boxes over to Africa for Christmas. Graham. I can't remember his name. Alexander Graham Bell. Whatever, you know what I'm talking about. What's his name? He's got a son. Anyway, it got me thinking about the quote-unquote good side of televangelists and all that. And then, of course, there's the bad side. There's the Benny Hinn's and the people that touch you and you fall down and all that stuff. And for all I care, they're all going to hell. And then I got to thinking, I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if there is a hell, right? And some of those people that proclaim to be Christians are going to be there, obviously, because A, law of averages, and B, those people are wolves in sheep's clothing more times than not. And I'm not saying that about Pat Robertson, people like that. I'm just saying Alexander. No, I'm still on Alexander Graham. I'll think of his name here in a minute. I got Graham Norton. I got Graham Bensinger. I got all kinds of Grahams in my head. Graham Crackers. But anyway, I'm not saying they're all going to hell or they should be going to hell. I'm just saying that there are some that, whatever. So, but then I think it would be really cool if, it would let us know who went to hell and who didn't, because who would not opt to do this? But you get like one option, like you've been in hell for like a year, and the God comes to you and he's like, hey man, we'd like you to just take a respite from hell. You get to come up and do like a 3-hour interview for the people. I'll be the interviewer, and then we'll ask you questions about, your time in hell and all that stuff. And while you're doing the interview, you're not in hell. You're not burning, and, you're not in, immense pain and all that. So everybody be like, yes, I'll do it. Please let me do that interview. So everybody would do it. And then we would get to hear like the true side. So, God would always start with like the same question and would kind of lead it off. He'd be like, Jerry Falwell, if you look back on your life, I'm sure you've had a lot of time to reflect. Anything that you would, kind of do differently or what? I'd profess Jesus differently, all this. And it would be really interesting to hear their take on the whole religious experience and how they portrayed themselves and sold out God and all this other stuff in their lifetime. I think it would be interesting to hear, and everybody would tune in and be like, hey, do you hear who's coming up from hell this week? They got an interview with so-and-so, but yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. And imagine the person that's, I'll pass, I'll just stay in hell. That's, boy, you talk about some pride there. Whoo, that's some pride. And I was watching Against My Better Judgment, and I got nothing against Travis Tritt other than his hairstyle. That's a weird little short hairs and then the long. I don't know what he was going for there, but anyway, I was watching the trilogy early this morning, which is what is it? To Tell Me I Was Dreaming. Something about If I Lost You. I don't remember the middle one, but it's a 3-part video. And I don't understand why these people, and especially back in the 90s and all, they had to turn every damn video into like a little mini-series movie and all this. And it's so cheesy, right? Basically the gist of it is he wakes up in the middle of the night in a VA hospital because he's been in Nam, and he's cold sweat. And the dude beside him is this black dude named Al, and he's like already awake, and he's like, it's like he's waiting for him to wake up. He's like, hey man, I'm here. I know about them dreams, right? And of course he's like resisting any kind of help from anybody. So he's not talking to his wife, Annie. She doesn't come visit him, which is kind of weird. He doesn't take her calls, nothing like that. And then, you know, he falls out of his wheelchair one day while they're playing basketball. And it's another thing, man. Travis Tritt, if you want to be an actor, go the whole way. You know, if Sausage Film Studios was making that video, I'd have been like, man, I'm Travis Tritt. I'm like, look, give me an epidural, numb my legs. I'm going to fall out, and it's going to make it. I'm going to look like I don't have any feeling in my legs because it's so obvious he catches himself. And he falls out of his wheelchair like 3 times in the trilogy. That's like once per video, is best I can tell. And then he goes through, and then Annie, you know, finally they make amends, and they're back in love, and he's doing the right thing, and she gets pregnant. Al and Mac, his name is Mac, of all dang names. How about Max? I mean, nobody's named Mac, right? And Al and Mac open a boat shop where they're making like repairs on Evinrudes and stuff like this. And so they're doing all this. It's got a little Forrest Gump tinge to it. And Forrest Gump was written like the 80s, and that movie was like 92, 93. And this is like late 90s, right? So they clearly ripped off a little bubblegum shrimp, right? And so he's out there. And then Annie, the dumbass, is like 19 months pregnant. She got like the gestation period of like a giraffe. She got this huge belly, and she's out there walking on a damn wet-ass fiberglass boat, slips, cracks her head, bam, she's dead. And then, of course, he falls out of his wheelchair again. I don't know what happens when paraplegic people fall in the water, but when Al jumped in the water, he could stand up, for one thing. So it's not like he would have fallen far. I mean, surely you could kind of, I mean, you're like 19 times stronger in water, so surely you can tread water with no leg feeling, right? Anyway, he just lets her, you know, she's floating. Like, this dead man float makes no sense. She doesn't sink, right? So they get the baby out, and it's fine, and it's a pretty little girl, and you know, he comes out. Annie didn't make it, so now he names the baby Annie, which I don't like it when, I think it would have been better if it had been a boy. Not that they would have named the boy Annie, but I don't like it when you name a girl after the mom. That's just weird, man. You know, if a mom's name is Sarah, you don't name the baby Sarah Jr. That's just silliness, I say. So, yeah, then he goes on, and now he's got little Annie, and, you know, they're out boating on the pontoon because, you know, he's got to be able to roll his, you know, wheelchair onto the boat, and he's sitting there riding along and everything, and I don't know I don't know, I guess they festooned some, you know, thing to where the wheels would lock into place on the floor because, you know, when the boat took off, he would roll backwards. I don't know how they worked that out, but then they go see her little thing. And this is the worst part of it, right? You go in the comments, and I read about this, right? And I'm all for VA help and all that stuff, and it apparently drummed up a lot of support for that stuff, and it had, like, donations. That's great. But that doesn't mean that Travis Tritt can act. And they talked about making this into like a mini-series, and everybody in the comments on YouTube is like, oh, this is just such a tearjerker. If this doesn't make you cry, you're not human. Well, color me not human, because it didn't make me cry. It made me cringe. It's awkward and weird, and they shouldn't have made that into a mini-series because it would have been stupid, all right? I mean, Mac was a dick, right? I mean, he's a dick. Like, you just, like, hanging up on your wife, not talking to her and all. She's over there trying to get you through the trauma that you went through. And you're too scared to get epidural. It wears off. It wears off. I mean, a lot of women have babies with epidurals. They're fine, you know. So that's all I got. Get it.